Hello, I'm Rob Sproule. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. First, I want to invite everyone to take a step back to last March and the roller coaster that was last March and in April. Were we going to go out of business? Were we going to succeed? Who knows? I mean, we had pictures of bulldozers clearing fields of Easter lilies that wouldn't sell. We had cuttings rotting on the docks because they just weren't arriving. So thinking about that and thinking about the effect COVID had on our industry, my dad used to say that liquor stores and greenhouses are the only ones that survive recession. He told me that in 2009, right before a record year in sales. This is having the same effect. Think back to the trends now that are accelerated through COVID. COVID didn't start any of those trends. COVID didn't invent working from home or rediscovering your yard or growing food. But COVID added rocket fuel to these trends and accelerated them to record degrees. So today we're going to look at some of these trends and what to expect now moving forward. And look, I know you're all tired of hearing about COVID, so I'm not going to belabor it too much. I'm going to do a brief retrospect, then we're going to look ahead. Here's a few things of what to expect from today. If your plan is to move forward into 2021 and beyond, thinking about, we just sell plants, we are selling to kind of white boomer women as our base, and we don't have to adapt because we're doing great, this talk is probably not for you. I am going to be here to challenge you to adapt. That's what the mission of my agency is, that's what my mission is to challenge our industry to thrive and adapt to different evolving circumstances. And this time, we have to thrive by realizing we're not in the plant business anymore. We're in the wellness industry now. And being in the wellness industry, our customers have changed. 2020 has changed our customers. And we have to adapt in order to meet their needs. And our industry is never going back to 2019. Our industry has changed forever. Little bit about me first. I was born into the industry, third generation garden center owner. I'm passionate about this industry, this is where I come from, and I truly believe that this is one of the only industries left in the world that really brings joy and meaning to people's lives. We have a positive net influence on society, on the world, but we need to change. And luckily, our industry is dominated by small business, and small business is the last bastion of true innovative capitalism, and we are able to change. We're able to make those pivots. A little bit about my garden center, Salisbury Greenhouse. You can see salisburygreenhouse.com. We were founded in 1965. I'm third generation. We've been top 100 Garden Center magazine for 5 years in a row. Recently added a new location, which I'm at now, out in St. Albert, near me. We're now the largest gardening business in Alberta, and so proud of our business, and we've been very constant in the past 10 years of being ahead of the trend, reaching out to millennials and adapting to move forward into that new wave of customers. A little bit about Dig Marketing. I've been doing marketing in Salisbury since the late 90s, and I've seen our industry and I see how our industry needed to adapt digitally in order to compete. And what I did is I took the tactics that I was using at the greenhouse, contents, lots of content, lots of blogging, lots of personal touch, and I swung that over into an agency where we work exclusively with independent garden centers across North America. We work with over 30 of them now. The agency is run by people from the industry, and we're passionate about helping our industry succeed. We have this laser focus on what the industry needs. We write over 30 blogs a week. We do consulting strategy, we do blogging emails, that's our core, but we do lots and lots of website and generally kind of strategic consultation about meeting the challenges. Let's talk about 2020 and what we learned from this crazy train wreck of a year that was 2020. I think the most important thing we learned is that we redefined essential. You hear the word essential all the time. What's essential? What's open? What's closed? A lot of us were closed, and some of us were closed, and then we opened. And eventually, most of us came to be essential. So what is essential? The seeds we sell are essential. The tomato plants are essential. That's why we were allowed to open. But the reality is, essential is the dignity and hope and feeling of control you get from growing a plant. That's what's essential. Essential is walking into our garden centers and feeling the UV light, having the air circulation on you, feeling the increased oxygen, the humidity, all things that COVID virus hates, and feeling that cleanliness instinctively, and being around the plants and just feeling them soothe you. That's essential. Customers coming in during the lockdown and just breathing, just being able to get out. People bringing their babies out just to get some vitamin D, get them outside. That's essential. That's why we're in the wellness industry. We learned millennials have stopped only caring about houseplants and they're getting outside. They're putting their money where their mouth is. They're getting their hands dirty. What does that mean for us? Well, it means the demographic we've been tripping over for the past 10 years to try to get has suddenly fallen into our lap. Now, some of us know what to do with that, and some of us don't. Not all of us are experts at it. We're learning as we go. But the reality is, if we're used to marketing to boomers, we have to adapt, and we have to adapt quickly. These are new gardeners, and our industry has no signs of slowing down. Millennials are plant crazy, and spoiler alert, Gen Z, who are close behind, are even crazier. They're coming and they are redefining our industry quickly. They're coming in, they don't have the plant knowledge, they don't have the confidence. They're the ones asking you for the seed potatoes in February. Whereas the boomers would lecture you on how to keep scab off the potatoes and why don't you have 17 different kinds. Millennials are coming in and they're full of passion and they're full of insecurity, and it's our job to make them feel comfortable. Otherwise, they're gonna go to Lowe's. They're gonna go to the boxes where they can go and shop anonymously and not feel stupid or overwhelmed, and we've lost that customer. This is our opportunity. They've come to us already. They came to us in 2020. They will come back in 2021. This is our opportunity to, turn that new customer into a lifelong customer. And you have to train your staff how to do that. We learned that in times of shock, people grow tomatoes. Remember back in March when you go to the store and the shelves were empty? Not just of toilet paper. You go in, a lot of the foodstuffs were empty, things like that. A lot of them still are. That created an existential anxiety in us. The idea of our food chain being disrupted is a fundamental fear because we're helpless. We can't grow our food. Most of us are completely helpless to do that. And so we are completely reliant on that food distribution network, and we don't even think about how fragile it is. But now, suddenly, how fragile it is staring us in the face. And we go to the store, we see the empty shelves, and we think, what if that is cut off? What if that food is cut off? What do I do then? Can I take care of myself? Food exploded. I remember walking into my brother/business partner's office in March and saying, whatever edibles we're growing, strawberries, basil, tomatoes, we have to double the seed, we have to double the cuttings now. We did, we still ran out early. The comparison I can think of is 9/11. With 9/11, there was a shock to the system and food gardening exploded. 9/11 marked the moment where the 90s model of boomers planting annuals in their front yard and gardening being more about aesthetics in the neighborhood, that shifted, that paradigm shift turned over to edible gardening and rediscovering the sanctuary and the safety of the backyard, the private space as opposed to the public street. Container gardening began to explode, so the annuals went from the front yard bed to the container gardens in the back. Food gardening exploded and we've never looked back. It was a permanent paradigm shift. I'm saying that this will be a permanent paradigm shift as well towards more food gardening, towards a sense of wellness in gardening. We rediscovered our private spaces. We rediscovered our yards. In 2019, your yard was a pain in the ass that you had to mow sometimes, rake leaves, and sometimes you go barbecue in. In 2020, it became a sanctuary. It became a place where you could go, your family would go, and you'd be safe. We've spent over a year weaponizing people's breaths, turning people's mouths into weapons. That's created this kind of vast social anxiety. And now as we start to come out of this, a jab in the arm is not going to take that away. It might take the physical, real danger away, but in our minds, the anxiety will linger. And people are going to come out of this, emerge out of this. Some of them are good to go. Get me on a plane, get me to Vegas. Others are going to take years. Others are going to be terrified of shopping malls forever. And we all have to have grace. We all have to have kindness for this. And people are going to stay in their yards. This is not going back, guys. The idea of going back to normal, I hope it's been completely debunked by now, because normal is not normal. Normal is going to be new. Normal is, all these trends have accelerated for, probably 10 years forward. What else is happening? Downtown cores are emptying out. Single-family homes in the suburbs are going for record prices. Around me in Western Canada, single-family homes are selling in one day at multiple bids. No one's ever seen anything like it before. Because people want the yards. People want to discover. And the social anxiety is going to stay, and they're going to look to us to help them in a myriad way. So they're investing in their yards. They're pouring real money into their yards. Home improvement spiked in general as people stayed home. You don't get the satisfaction of a bathroom reno as you do of redoing your yard so your kids can get out there and really play, so you can really get out and enjoy it. It wasn't just plants, by the way. It was everything from pest control to tomato cages. Everything was sold out. I remember by end of July, every fertilizer, every chemical was gone. I've never seen it. Completely empty shelves. And of course, supply issues. We all know about the supply issues that accompany that. And it all comes back to a sense of control. We've spent so long of things we can't control, of a virus we can't control, we don't even know where it is, of world events we can't control. And it wasn't just the virus, by the way. It was Black Lives Matter. It was this kind of poisonous split, from the politics of the year. There's so much happening that we can't control. We get into the garden and we can feel that. We express our personal story through the soil. We also learned that compassion and localism matter. Now, this is key to our industry. This is something that a lot of us never even take into account. The power of localism. In our industry, loyalty is local. You ever notice there's very few big chains in our industry? Very few. There's a reason for that. Because our customers want the garden center down the street. They want a garden center where they can go in and talk to someone they know, preferably the manager or the owner, about plants that they know are going to be healthy. There's something implicit in the industry about being local, wanting the garden center near you. And I'll talk about that phrase a little later. We also spent the whole year thinking about local cases, all the local businesses around us dying, the box stores eating their lunch. We spend all this time talking about local, so being small now is more powerful than it's ever been. And that's crucial for us to remember because we can leverage that. Most of us are bending over backwards trying to be big, trying to look corporate, trying to look like, oh, we have all this professionalism and stuff like that. Stop that right now. Be small, because small is powerful. Small inspires loyalty. Relish in the small. Be seen. Owners who made themselves visible on Facebook Lives, on anywhere, won. In March during the lockdown, I did a Facebook Live almost every day, as many days as I could, and I'm a plant nerd, right? So I love the history of plants, and I would just take a pansy, and I would talk about pansy. I would talk about pansies in Midsummer Night's Dream. I talk about pansies in Napoleon. Throw in some dad jokes, and people loved it. I got emails for months about people saying, you know what, you helped me through this time. You helped me when I was really depressed, and every day I wanted to watch it. Be seen, build the trust, build the loyalty, scrap the corporatism, scrap the passive voice, scrap all that. Not just for the value being small, but because the new demographic now, the new demographic who've come in, the millennials, they hate that shit. They don't even want it. If you start putting on that facade, they'll go away. Embrace the small. Compassion mattered. How you treated your employees mattered. How you still treat your employees mattered. Get your employees out there, let them be seen. Feature them on your Facebook pages, feature them in your email and on your website. Feature your employees. Ask them what their favorite movie is and why they love plants. Your customers will respond because they want to see that personal touch. Garden centers are busy now. Garden centers could be busier. For a quarter of the year, we use all of our space, we're full. For like 3/4 of the year, sometimes half of the year, we have all this space sitting there. We're not really utilizing properly. Use it. Become a community hub. Once this is done, people are going to want in-person contact more than they ever have before. Starting late summer into the fall. If you don't do fall Christmas workshops, start. If you do them already, add 30% to your schedule right now. If you don't do informative classes, You need that. You need that content. I'm going to talk about content a lot in the last half of the talk. You need that content because the millennials, they don't have the security. You need to give them the confidence they need to succeed. If they succeed, they will come back. If they don't succeed, you've lost them. You've lost that opportunity. Invite groups in. Don't charge them money. Are you kidding me? Invite the Prevention Cancer Society in. Invite the Pound in to have their meeting. Just stay out of politics. All right? Don't invite the political parties. Just trust me. Is this trend going to last? What's going to happen when this is over? We're going to still see massive growth this spring and summer. My flagship store actually saw its largest growth in revenue year to year in the first quarter of 21, driven by houseplants, seeds, and pottery. And that's going to continue. This is going to keep rolling. And then in the summer, things are going to start to trail off. People, have a lot of disposable income right now. They're not spending money outdoors. If you kept your job, your checking account's probably pretty healthy because you're not buying all this cheap crap. You're not going out for suppers a lot. You're saving your money. Disposable income, you get some checks from government and then you want to go out and you want to spend it. So our industry is benefiting from that. In the fall, as everything opens, we're going to have a lot of competition for that disposable dollar. Fall and Christmas are going to be a lot leaner than last fall and Christmas. Just get ready for that. Adjust your buying. But the workshops will be huge. The classes will be huge. So customer buying habits. So like I said, in the short term, a lot of money out there, a lot of flowing, and they're going to be coming. In the long term, your customer is going to be examining what they really need. Chances are during this all they've examined what they need, what essential is. Do you want to be surrounded by things that don't bring you joy? If you don't know Marie Kondo, look her up, Kondo. And she said, you should only surround yourself with things that bring you joy. In your home, anything that doesn't bring you joy needs to go. Because we don't have time for that. And so you have fewer things, higher quality, less made in China, cheap resin, what's that chemical in it, stuff. More locally made, more wood, more real material, heavier products, real products. That's what the people are going to want. And that's also, by the way, again, what millennials are looking for. They're re-examining right now. They're re-examining, geez, does my kid have to be in hockey 4 times a week? The kid's been home and it's been pretty nice. So we're re-examining a lot in our lives and we need to be aware of that. The stats I'm going to mention are from Garden Center Magazine. I want to throw a pitch out here to these guys, and they're wonderful. They're the best resource we have. If you don't subscribe to them, subscribe to them. Read it. Because they are trying their damnedest to keep us up to date, to keep us informed. It's a wonderful resource. So let's talk about Garden Center growth. I hope you've seen growth. We've been growing, we know that. I've had customers fighting in the aisles over Hoya plants. 10 years ago, I couldn't give that crap away. We've been growing like crazy. You should have seen strong growth. And again, all the millennials showed up. It's like the genie appeared and threw all the millennials at us. The average age of my garden center has probably fallen 10 years. But we have to be ready. We have to adapt in order to retain them. Supply issues dominated. And this is the year where your relationships with your growers and your suppliers really matter. If you're used to jerking your growers and suppliers around, this is the year they pay you back for it. But if you have good relationships, if you see them when you're in town, buy them dinner, this is the year that you really benefit. It's also the year, by the way, that grower retailers really benefited. And honestly, this is the year that if you have any space at all, grow a spider plant. Pick it off, throw it in the dirt, root it out. Even straight up retailers, a lot of them started to grow a little bit. And that's the revenue growth is good because we were fighting with occupancy issues, we were fighting with shutdown, we were fighting with increased costs for PPE, people counting, cleaning, that kind of thing. Vegetable growth, massive vegetable and edible growth. We all know this. This kind of led the charge. Largest growth, by the way, since 2002, right after line 11, which I was speaking about a little bit before. Annuals still did very well. Saw enormous growth in annuals, especially container gardening, but largely across the board. All plants, all supplies, just growth in general. Of course, what didn't grow, fashion. Obviously, no one's going out. Expect your fashion to start booming now. If you're selling fashion, your decor, things like that, tend to do okay. But it was the plants and plant materials. The garden centers for plant people are what really succeeded. First-time veggies and herbs surpass summer annuals in growth. Houseplants. Houseplants, houseplants. Houseplants have been growing for a while. Houseplants have seen climbing growth for years, with millennials coming in, naming the plants. 5 years ago, most of us were still pricing 4-inch tropicals all the same. 4-inch tropical, $4.99, that's it. I'll tell you, my last order, we received 4-inch dragon scale alocasia. Probably the hottest plant out there right now. That'll change soon, probably by the time you see the show. But houseplants are high fashion. They were so small, they were barely rooted. They're like this big. So I called it and I said, I'm gonna get credit on this. It's not good stuff. But honestly, they were $90 a piece for a 4-inch pot, and by the time I turned around, they were gone. People were fighting over them. You know, the houseplants now, it's high fashion, it's so popular. You know, that's not gonna last forever, but like I said, the millennials are coming in to some degree. All that popularity is gonna maintain, and Generation Z is gonna continue. This guy's stocking up on houseplants. Who's seen more of this kind of guy in your garden center? Who's seen more guys in general in the garden center after houseplants? Who's seen couples on dates? Who's seen girls in their 20s kind of bringing in their friends and hanging out as an afternoon? Never saw that 10 years ago. Our industry is changing. Trends coming back into style. The old one is Victory Garden. Victory Garden, I remember, was like the first thing we talked about in February into March, was a resurgence of victory gardening to win the war. Remember all the World War II comparisons to coronavirus? Victory gardening, people stopped talking about, and it almost turned into prepping. It turned into people ripping up their front yards to plant potatoes. It turned to everyone building more raised beds in the back. You know, it turned into just growing more food in general. And seeds, bulbs, crazy. In January, in my garden center, seed sales were up 3,000%. Companies have stopped shipping, or they've stopped doing kind of direct to consumer buys. But seeds are a really good example of where your new customer really needs your help. They need your content. Again, content meaning classes, virtual classes, blogs. We're going to talk about blogs, super important for building the loyalty for your garden center. They need this. They need seeding calendars at front. The blog on my website, seeding calendar for Alberta, when to plant and how. It's been the most popular blog on my site for 5 years. It's got a lot of competition. This is what your customers are really, really looking for. Online shopping. We all know about online shopping. Jeff Bezos is a very comfortable man right now. What does this mean for our industry? Soapbox time. For the past 5 years, I've heard about e-commerce. Everyone wringing their hands over e-commerce. What is the future of e-commerce? Is e-commerce going to transform our industry? I have a digital marketing agency. I make a lot of money making e-com stores for clients. And in March and April, I made a lot of them. But what have I seen since? I've seen sales for those e-com stores flutter about. I haven't seen any really take off, including for my own garden center. E-com is a tool. And a tool works depending on how you use it. Is the future of our industry full e-com? Should we be competing with Amazon on how much geranium costs? Because we'll have geranium soon, believe me. You know, should we have warehouses of product and selling out, shipping all over the world? I don't think so. I gotta tell you, loyalty is local. Loyalty in our industry is brick and mortar. If you have an e-com store, that's great. Use it as a tool. Use it to bring people into your store. You know, use it for pre-orders. But to think that our industry is going to shift and become dominated by e-com, to me, the pandemic has shown us that it would not. But online shopping did explode. Remember curbside ordering? A lot of us are still doing curbside. Remember phone orders? Remember going through every tomato seed pack on the phone? Online pre-orders, I had clients and friends who they were closed in May and they had just shopping carts up every aisle of product for curbside. E-com growth, only 20% of garden centers had a site, now 65% of them do. In April, everyone was up till 2 in the morning putting their entire inventory on Shopify. It exploded. Again, to me, the explosion is going to be temporary because as soon as people can experience a garden center, that'll be the first trip they make. As soon as they feel comfortable getting out there, they want to get out there. You can buy, baked beans and books on Amazon till your face turns blue, but there's something special about our industry. People want to pick it up, hold it, and that's not going away. Again, how to use it. Use it to build your traffic flow. Do pre-orders before the tropicals come in. If you got a line on that, Indian rope Hoya that everyone wants, put it out there on pre-order for your loyalty group. Make them feel special. You guys get to pre-order this for 48 hours before anyone else does. And then pull it aside. When it arrives, you send them an email, they come pick it up. Already paid on your e-com, of course. Use your e-com as a tool. Sell your gift cards on e-com. In March, we do 20% off gift card promo, and it raises a crazy amount of money because people buy and stock up 20% and never even redeem. Use the e-com as a way to build loyalty, as a way to generate experiences in store. But the idea of using your e-com to keep people from visiting your store at all is counter to the strengths we have as an industry. People have more disposable income. Like I said, they haven't been buying non-essentials. They haven't been going out for dinner. They're getting checks from the government. How they use that e-com, they've been investing in their home, where they've been investing in the landscape, they've been investing in quality. And the quality is big because the plants are quality. Plants are something that's as real as you get as a product, and it gives you a sense of empowerment, like I said, a sense of control to grow it in a world where a feeling of control is very hard to come by. Working from home trends. So many people are working from home. The idea of working from home manifests itself in different ways. We're a suburban-based industry. The growth of suburbs helps us. The downtown cores being depleted mostly helps our industry unless you're a downtown plant shop. The more people are going to stay working from home. Not as many, but I expect more working from home. I expect a lot of hybrid models where you say a company reduces its office size and its rent and says this desk is for Jimmy 2 days a week and Jane 3 days a week, and you alternate. And then the other times you work from home. You work from home for the productivity side, you come in for the networking side, for working together in a more efficient way. Everyone wins. Our sales as a garden center have increased a lot more in the weekday than on the weekends. Check that for yourself. Has it? And the fact is that that's probably going to continue, and that's good for us because it spreads out the weekends, spreads out that Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock, into the Thursdays, into the Wednesdays, where we have the staff. We just need more customers. One more thing about disposable income, guys. I hope your discounts have come up. Do you track discounts as a percentage of your total revenue? You should. Sometimes we get addicted to discounts. My garden center, we got addicted to discounts. This has helped break the addiction. We picked up another 5% in revenue in 2020 just by reducing discounts because we didn't need to. We kept our main sales. The sales that everyone expects we kept. But just throwing 30% off at something just to move it out, we stopped doing all that. 5% in revenue, bottom line. It's massive. And it's all profit. Let's talk about mental health, because people work from home, they want that mental health break. We're that mental health break. They work from home and they come in to see us on a Tuesday afternoon just for a break. The anxiety is at record highs, and we haven't even started to see this yet. This is going to be the next pandemic, is a social anxiety people have. And like I said, we're all going to have grace here. But after a year of calling our breath a weapon, people are going to be afraid to go out. Our spaces are the safest indoor spaces you can get. We're the opposite of a stingy little mall with no windows. We're all UV light. We're all humidity, rich oxygen. We're all things that kill COVID virus quickly, high airflow. We are a very safe environment, and most of us are being very conscientious, masking and distancing and all that good stuff. So our customers feel good. Keep that going. Keep that safety going. Keep the protocols going. When this is all done, even if mask mandates come off, make sure your staff don't go right up to customers right away. Be aware of how sensitive people are going to be. Like I said, the new demographic, millennials, by the way, are the most COVID conscious demographic out there. more than boomers. They're often the ones telling their boomer parents to stop going out. And so you have this strange dynamic where the young people who aren't as affected are trying to keep their parents safe. Be aware that with millennials or with all your customers, just don't get right in their face right away. As I said, we are in the mental health industry now. And with the wellness industry, plants contribute to wellness in so many ways. Just being around plants is satisfying. Garden soil is a scientific fact, guys. Gardening soil, when you garden and disturb soil, you disturb a microbe, goes into the air, and we breathe it in, or you ingest it into your hands topically or through your skin, and it has the same effect in our brain as Prozac. It's incredible what it does. So the gardening itself is therapeutic. Growing a plant gives you a sense of empowerment, a sense of fulfillment and control. Your air quality is better. Wellness is better in so many ways. It cleans the air in your home. So we have all these plant parents. Now this is a social media post that my team found. And yeah, people don't know. They don't know the holes in monster, are you supposed to cut it or not. People are taking a chance on gardening. This is so important, guys. When someone asks your staff a stupid question, what do? Do they roll their eyes at them because they're used to boomers who know what they're talking about? Talk to your staff. Every customer who asks you a stupid question is a potential new customer for life. Anyone who rolls their eyes at them needs to have a dressing down like no tomorrow, because the fact is that this is the future of your garden center coming in and asking you stupid questions. So important that you make them feel comfortable. If you make them feel stupid, they're gone forever. They're not going to darken your doorway again. They're going to Lowe's. Or they're going to garden center up the street, who may probably make them feel better. This is a cultural shift. This is a philosophical shift. This is why, we're used to this customer base of, middle-aged white women who know how to garden inside and out. Now we've got 25-year-old guys coming in wanting to grow their own food. We've never seen them at our place before. And, we have diversity, we have multiculturalism, we have all these different age ranges, and a lot of them are scared shitless of gardening. All they know is that they want to, they're driven to. And so they're here, standing in front of your staff member. What are you gonna do? That's the opportunity. That's what 2020 is in a nutshell. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna take advantage of that? Are you gonna turn that scared millennial into a new customer for life? Or are you gonna make them feel stupid and send them to Lowe's? It's up to you guys. So the new demographic starting to settle. Millennials turned 40 this year, and now they are the largest spending demographic in the world. The fact is that we've been trying so hard to get for the past few years. Now we have them. Generation Z is not far behind. They're turning 20 this year. They're coming. They're even more plant crazy. Our future looks bright, so bright, but we need to adapt. We cannot keep the same tactics. So how do you help the millennials? The millennials want to get out there. They want to garden with their kids. They see our plants not as tools to build aesthetics in their neighborhood, and they see their plants as tools for wellness, as essential. They're as essential as medicines. So we have to figure out how to keep them coming. One is content. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about content, blogging, things you can do on your website, start writing articles on your website. And content is not just online, by the way. Content is classes, virtual classes. Content is more POP in store. Content is training your staff on every weekly staff meeting. What are going to be the 5 most asked questions this week? Tell them the answers so that they know, so that everyone's on the same page. So when someone asks, you know when snow mold's a thing. You know when the apples are coming out and you can work on the apple maggot. You know these things. You know in advance, so you can talk to them about it. Articles are really important because article on your website is going to affect the searchability of your site. Google wants you to have good content on your site. So when someone near you is Googling about fungus gnats, you want them to find your article even if they've never seen your garden center before. That's the key. We spend a lot, as an agency, we spend a lot of time on Google Trends. We start to look at the national patterns for what people are searching on Google. So these graphs, you see the 100 at the top, everything's based on 100. Okay, so it's always the 100, and then all the others are ratios, kind of percentages lower than 100. Now, since 2011, there weren't any much changes in term gardening for beginners. Now we're seeing a gradual increase. By the way, the dotted line at the end, it is continuing to grow. People want to know how to garden, and take a look at these next ones here. They're even more stark. Houseplants, more people than ever. And you can see it was climbing well before COVID, but now it's reaching insane heights. People want to buy plants. And of course, like I said, plants are high fashion. There's certain things about gardening that are universal, that have been around since, we built the first cities. But other parts of plants are fashion. They're constantly changing. And if you're still pricing all your 4 and 6 inch foliage the same, give your head a shake. You got to get out of that. You got to start thinking about your houseplants more as individual products. Your Calathea Fusion White is going to be hot 1 month. Now, Costco got a hold of it, sold it out for everyone. Now the market's dead, you got to move on. Now it's Alocasias, now it's Triticanthes, now it's Pileas. Who knows what it is? Indoor pottery sales, by the way, are growing just as fast. A lot of garden centers I know are selling indoor pottery to houseplants almost on a 1-to-1 basis. So indoor pottery sales are also exploding. Remember I talked about garden center near me? Loyalty is local. Here's the search for garden center near me. By the way, when you do your Google Trends, and you can do this on your own if you want, the most common phrases for garden center searched on Google, the idea of garden center near me or garden center close to me or greenhouse in my neighborhood, they're always the top 5. People want local. Loyalty is local. Garden center near me, like I said, always the #1 search term in our industry. And look at this. Look at what's been happening pre-pandemic. As localism grows, like I said, the trends didn't come out of nowhere. It just accelerated trends that were already in motion. But now, in 2020, massive amounts of people wanting the garden center, not knowing where it is. That's why online also, your Google My Business page, make sure it's running properly. That little box in Google on the top right-hand side, when you Google your garden center, that has to be there. That's how people find you. You got to make sure you're on the maps properly. You got to make sure all these things so people can find you, so millennials can find you. This is amplified too. If someone around you wants to Google how to grow tomatoes, your article has to be there. Your website has to be there. Then they see your site, they know you exist, they know they can find you. It's all connected. Blogging, by the way, is not just writing like a standard 500-word article and off it goes. That's the core of it, but there's all these other ones. Blogging we've done recently, we had a winter birds blog, went out to 17,000 people, which is sometimes they go viral. And that just pushes your website up in the rankings like crazy. They say the best place to hide a body is page 2 of Google because no one looks there. So you want to be on that first page, you want to be higher. UGC tomato article, one client we do user-generated content for. They send in their stories, they send in their stuff, we spin it in articles. People love it. There's quizzes. People take a quiz, and if they want the answer, they sign up for your email newsletter. So many different ways to use content that you're helping people and entertaining people at the same time. So we have shifts in gardening culture. Gardening culture is changing. How we look at plants is changing moving forward through 21, through 22. This is change forever. And purpose-based consumerism is coming into focus. Purpose-based consumerism is another trend that was already in motion. COVID accelerated like crazy. The idea of purpose-based consumerism is millennial and young consumer driven. They want to buy from companies that they believe in, companies who have the same values as they are. For some of us, that's going to mean adaptation. But that is the future of our industry, is the days of us not being challenged on our values are over. Gardening has changed through the decades. Like I said, the 90s were about more aesthetics, keeping up with the Joneses in the neighborhood, very boomer driven. Now it's changed. 9/11 changed everything. COVID has changed everything again, and they're going to keep changing. Our industry is now on a new path towards wellness, a path towards a sense of purpose. And it's also about a path towards a sense of control, a path towards plants relieving our anxiety. And people, and I can't emphasize this enough, your people want to come to you. Your people want to come to your garden center. I love this quote because it kind of encompasses all of what I've been talking about. The idea of anxiety, the idea of planting as a hopeful act. Your customers want to come to you. This is so important. We have more loyalty than any other industry I can think of. Our customers want to come to us. We just have to be the place that they want to come. Your home is safe. We talked about this. Public places become scary. Public places are going to stay scary for a while. The garden, the yard is inherently private. I talked a little bit about Instagram influencers. Not too much, but just so you know, get on Instagram. That's where the new customers are. That's where the millennials are. They're not on Facebook anymore. Facebook is becoming a boomer tool. You need to be on Facebook. It's mandatory, just like a website was mandatory 10 years ago. But now you need to be on Instagram as well. Find the influencers on Instagram. Find the people carving it up in houseplants. Write some of these guys down, because it's really important that you know what the top end of that fashion is wherever you fall in that gradient. You're going to have your own strategy for your sales, for your houseplants, but you need to know the environment you need those out there. People like Ron Finley, who are redefining what gardening is, bringing a new sense of multiculturalism to gardening, bringing a new sense of diversity to gardening, guerrilla gardening, urban gardening, all these things are redefining our industry. And so how do you attract people after these houseplants? You build a reputation. You don't bring in a whole bunch of crazy high-end houseplants at once, but you have to build a reputation for it slowly. It's all about consistency, and it's all about having what millennials need, having what they're looking for, but not reaching too far up. If you're just selling the very basics, don't go to, kind of $500 variegated monstera right away. Start to ease your way up and make sure you have the training, the staff, the cleanliness in store to accommodate that, and let your customers guide with how far you go. Also, Facebook groups, Instagram groups, plant groups, have people on your staff, your houseplant manager, whoever's looking after, should be on those groups as a person, not as a business, not soliciting, but monitoring. Seeing what they're talking about, seeing what the word of mouth is about you, seeing about what the latest plant is, and when you get a shipment in, they should be out there talking about it. Hey, I just saw this over at Salisbury. They got a new dragon scale alocasia. Boom! And they're gone. That's what we did. And like I said, the demand is insane. And that's not going away. Here's a guy who wants to trade his car for a variegated monstera cutting. Of course, supply issues, we know about those. A lot of people buying crops out of Florida. That's kind of the place to buy in North America. We've been bringing a truck up every 2 weeks, and it has just been harder and harder and harder to get a lot of these plants. The joke in my agency is that it used to be the guy would take his dog for a walk to attract women. Now he talks about his houseplants. And we're so lucky in our industry. I almost feel this sense of survivor's guilt during the pandemic, because in our industry we're so blessed that we have a product that people are just hungry for, that people are seeking. Help them succeed. Help your customers succeed, because if they succeed, then they will come back. They've taken a gamble in 2020. Hopefully they have success. Looks like they're going to take another gamble in 21. You need to help them find success, because you need to give them confidence. If they have confidence, they will spend more. They will keep coming back. And they will be loyal. But it's up to you. What are you doing to give your new customers confidence and make them feel empowered and in control? That's the wellness aspect, making them feel good about gardening. And if you condescend to them, or if you give them the greasy, slick-back salesman treatment, they will remember it and they will go online. Remember now, also, this new demographic lives online. They live on reviews. They are checking your reviews online before they even get to you. Is your website responsive on mobile? Do your Google reviews suck, and talk about how bad your service is? All these things matter. So make sure you're online, make sure you have awareness, because your new customer is watching you, whether you're watching yourself or not. Find out what your hashtag is on Instagram. Spoiler alert, your hashtag is probably not what you want it to be. If you're Joe's Garden Center and you want the hashtag to be Amazing Joe's Gardens, it's probably not Amazing Joe's Gardens. As many times as you talk about and post to it, your hashtag is probably Joe's Garden Center. Your hashtag tends to develop organically. So go on Instagram, search your hashtag, just type in hashtag, different variations of your name, you'll find it. It'll be out there. Your customers have probably been posting for years without you knowing about it. There's probably some good stuff on there. Corporate responsibility, this is huge. And this is a big topic for us. It's something your new demographic cares immensely about. Pandemic, it has accelerated purpose-based consumerism. Your new customer wants you to take a stand on the values they care about. They want you to be representative. They want you to be a force for good in the world. 2020, we had a pandemic. We have Black Lives Matter. We have climate change. We had a presidential election that drove a spike down the middle of the United States. All these things happening. We are inherently non-political as an industry. Stay that way. But on the other hand, that doesn't mean we can't reflect the values of our customers. Speak out for what's important. Remember the Colin Kaepernick ad for Nike a few years ago? And that Colin Kaepernick, who took a stand of his own, Nike came out and supported him. All the people went out and burned their Nikes, right? A lot of people, the conservative people went out and they burned their Nikes. The reality is that most of them have bought new Nikes since. Taking a stand, as long as you know what it is, benefits your company. You're not making a political statement. You can take a stand, you can say, no, we don't use neonicotinoids because they hurt pollinators. Your customers will thank you, believe me. This is obviously not mandatory, but this, if you want to bring in your new generation of gardeners, the millennials, Gen Zs, this is what they're looking for you to do. That's what's going to build loyalty. We have to be inclusive. We have to make sure other groups of people are coming too. We're not a strictly white industry anymore. We were mostly white for a while. We are changing. Millennials and new customers, they are not, it's not as simple as it was before. We need to adapt. Plastics. Plastics has been our dirty little secret for a little while. We used a lot of disposable plastics, and now suddenly the focus is going to be on us. After the pandemic, once the dust has settled, people are going to start to think about all the plastics we've been using in masks, in plexiglass, in just sheets of plastic. We're going to mass polluting our rivers for decades ahead. People are going to think about plastics, and the awareness is going to be stronger than ever. So are you using biodegradables? Are you thinking about recycling some of your plastics? You have container swaps for your customers. How are you changing your plastic use, because the radar will be on you? Gardening movements, and a lot of these gardening movements are not, this is exactly where we want to position anyway. Buy local. Screw the big boxes in Amazon. Build your experience. That's the gardening movements your new customers will be talking about. Growing your own food. You sell tomato plants because you're selling plants to growing your own food, and they have a good profit margin. Your customers are buying them because it is a revolutionary act. It is an act of self-reliance. It's something for them, an act of wellness, that they don't have to be, relying on this kind of global food chain anymore. It's a feeling of control for them. We have to know what our plants mean to our customers. Gardening empowers our customers. These are the kinds of messages that we have to give. Message of empowerment, messages of getting out and getting your hands dirty, expressing your personal story through the soil. So what happens next? What happens after 21? What about 2022 and beyond? Well, I hope we all know by now that we're not going back to 2019 ever. The new normal is not going to be the old normal. There will be a normal. But it's absolutely crucial that we think about strategies for customer retention. All these new customers have shown up. How are we going to retain them? How are we going to keep them loyal to our brand? To me, our industry is going to continue with higher sales. We're not going back to 2019 sales. I think 22, we're going to land somewhere between 19 and 20. But I said that about 21 too, and that's probably going to be stronger. I think we are going to keep accelerating as an industry as long as we are relevant and adapt to the younger generations. We're experience-driven, embrace that. Don't fight it with, kind of spending all your money on fancy e-commerce and warehousing. Get them in store. Get them to touch the plants and smell the plants. That's what they want to do. Keep the soul of your garden center. Stay small. Don't try to be big. Get out there on Facebook Lives and talk to your customers one-on-one. Have a conversation with them. A lot of people will still do e-commerce. They'll still order groceries online. E-commerce will still continue to be strong, but it is not our future. It is more complicated than that. What can you do? Give them content. Make them feel special. If you don't have an email newsletter, get one yesterday. Get a loyalty card. These things still matter. Make them feel exclusive. When you have the new shipment of plants come in, tell them first. Have exclusive shopping day before your big sale. Just for them. Have more in-house events, more face-to-face events, plant swaps, yoga in the garden, and movie night in the jungle, workshops, classes, all of these things. Get them involved online and offline. 2020 is continuing to change. 2020 is the beginning of a new paradigm shift in gardening, for me, as significant or more than 9/11. Keep adapting, keep changing rapidly. And those customers, those new customers, they will keep coming back. And our industry is going to be stronger and more dynamic, more inclusive, and more profitable than it ever has before. The future of gardening looks a lot better. They've been vaccinated. During COVID, they took a chance on you. Now it's up to us to turn that into a lifetime of loyalty and wellness through plants. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Sproule, and I hope you all have a wonderful spring.